Hi guys, Ronix from Ronix Photography, and welcome to my channel. And if you haven't subscribed, kindly subscribe to this channel and don't forget to hit the notifications bell. So now let's kick in to edit this photo. So I'm going to show you guys how I edit my raw files, my raw images. And this photo is a raw file from it was taken using a Canon 6D and 85mm, as you can see on the settings, and it was taken at ISO 100 and f2.2 at 1/205th of a second. So I'm going to show you guys how I color grade my raw images, my raw files. So right now I'm going to color grade it and I'm going to do some retouching on this photo. So stay tuned as we kick in to start editing this photo. So as you can see, this is our camera raw. So that's what we're going to use to start our process. Then usually I start by pulling down my highlights. When I'm editing such files, I pull them out. I pull them all the way down because they are kind of blown out. Then I come to my whites and I pull them down. This is how I prefer to edit. So when you pull the highlights and whites down, you kind of get more of your blown out details. You can see how we are getting them back. So after that, I prefer to pull down my blacks, because when you pull down your blacks, you kind of get back your saturation of the colors and the skin tones. So I pull down my blacks. Then after, I'll just come back to my contrast. I add a little bit of contrast. As you can see now, we are getting back our colors in this photo. So after, I'll just come to my clarity. I'll add some little bit, like around 6% of my clarity. Then I'll add in a little vibrance to this photo. Yeah, 6 or 7 can do for this photo. Then I will leave my saturation. Then I'll come back up to my shadow slider and I'll pull it all the way up. But make sure when you're pulling your shadow slider, you don't pull it all the way, because as you can see, her hair is getting kinda grayish, so we wouldn't want that in our photos. So I'm going to pull it somewhere down, as you can see. So I think 60 will do, since we over pulled our highlights and blacks down. So I can come back and pump in a little whites. So after here, I just come to my exposure. I'll add in a little bit of exposure. Then I'll come to my temperature, because I prefer a warmer image. So I'll pull up my temperatures to around that. As you can see now, I'm going to come to my details. I want this photo to be a little bit sharp because I shot at f2.2 and I lost some details. So when I'm sharpening my photo, I prefer to hold down the Alt button, then I drag, because when you're dragging this, it shows you the black and white and it kind of reveals the details better. So you can see this photo. Then after, I come to my HSL panel. So as you can see, we can see the greens and the blues. So I'm only going to play around with my greens and blues. Oh, sorry, I'm going to play around with my greens first. So I prefer such a look. Then I'll come back to my yellows. So my greens is at around 26, positive 26, and I prefer, yeah, you can see, it's all about your liking. You can play around with these colors to get the one you prefer to your liking. You can see, so 28 will do for this part. Then I'll come to my luminous and I'll turn down my, you can see the difference it's making in the background. so I prefer it to be -12 because I want to regain my blown out highlights. Then I'll come back to my yellows and pull them down to a little bit, but not too much. So -3 will do. So after here, I'm going to come to my camera calibration. I'm going to play around with these colors. So I'll start with my blue primary, then I'll pull it, not all the way, because when you pull it all the way you can see what it's going to do to your photo. So I'll put it at -11. Then I'll come to my green primary, then you can see a difference it's making on her skin and the background. So I'll prefer to put it around, at around 3. Then I'll come to my red primaries, then I will. So right here you just keep on playing around with the sliders and you see what works best for you. So this will do for us, 3 will do. So I'll open our image in Photoshop. As it is opening, so after those are some of the basic adjustments. So right now we're going to start. As you can see this image, I'm going to start doing African separation on this photo, as you can see. So when I start doing African separation, I'm going to be using my mixture brush tool, and I'm going to mix these tones which look uneven on the model. And before working on the skin tones, I make sure I crop my image in a ratio of 4:5, because when you're uploading it on Instagram, you don't lose so much. You don't have to crop the image, it will cover the whole screen if at all someone is viewing your photo like using a phone. So I'm going to crop our image because this is how I do it. So click Enter on your keyboard, then I'll come. So after cropping the image, I prefer editing using 16-bit channel. So I'm going to come here and change the mode, then I'll come to 16-bit channel, as you can see. So I'm going to start doing African separation, and you're going to be using a mixture brush tool. So I'll start by duplicating our background layer by clicking Ctrl J, and I have my African separation action ready. And if you don't have this action, I'm going to put for you the link in the description so that you can download it and fasten your work while retouching your portrait. So I'm going to play this action. I'm sorry I have not cleared her skin because I prefer to do it after African separation this time round. So I prefer using a radius of 6, around 6 or 6.5 for this photo. Yeah, because it gives me the details, the better details. So I'll click OK and my action will start running. So I continue. So after this, I'm going to come here on the frequency separation group. I drop down and select my lower frequency. So after that, I'm going to come and select my mixture brush, and if you don't have it, you can find it amongst the brushes right here, but I put mine down here for easy accessibility. So I make sure this is clear, and if your brush isn't clear, make sure you drop down and clean your brush. Make sure this is unchecked and a custom brush. I prefer my whiteness to be at 10, my load is at 75%, my mix is at 90%, and my flow is at 100%. Make sure sample all layers is not checked. So I'm going to start mixing or doing African separation. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit, but not all the way. So I'm going to start mixing our model's skin, and I should say she has somewhat a perfect skin. So we are going to do less of the frequency separation. So when you're mixing, make sure you don't cross from the highlights to the shadows. Make sure you remain within the boundaries of the skin tones you're trying to mix. So I come to her cheek area, I mix there too. Yeah, I come to the bridge of the nose, I mix, then hatching, as you can see. So this photo was taken using natural light, and the light you're seeing right here on the model's face was a wall nearby. There was a white wall next to where we were shooting, so I'm going to mix her neck, you can see. Then I'll come to her chest, I mix there too, because I want to harmonize the skin tones. So I increase my brush size, so I'll come to the highlight, I mix there. As you can see, this is the before and the after, before, after. So it doesn't have to be too much, it has to be subtle, because we wouldn't want to make her skin look unnatural or too plastic. So I'm going to come to her arm, I'm going to start mixing there too. As you can see, I'm only mixing the highlights alone, the midtones alone, and the shadows. So here we are right now, we mix the arm area. So this is the before and the after, so I have to keep on showing you guys the progress. So I'll come to her thigh area, so I'm going to mix there too. You can see we had some little imperfections, but right now when we started mixing, they were gone completely. So yeah, so let me show you guys the before and the after. Before, after, before, after. You can see the difference it is making to our image. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to zoom in and try to clear the skin imperfections. So I've selected my high frequency layer, and I'm going to select my patch tool. You can use your healing brush, or you can even use your clone stamp, but I prefer using my patch tool. So I'm going to zoom in all the way, and I look for those imperfections on the model's skin. And since it was clear enough, we are going to do less of the skin clearing. So here we are right now. So we do away with these little things. It is these little things that create the magic in your portrait. So you shouldn't edit in a rush, because you really need something that is good and perfect. So yeah, I come right here, I clear that. So I'm doing away with the imperfections on the model's skin. Yeah, removing those little blemishes on the model's skin. As you can see, we have the details in this photo. So, and the skin is not plastic. So this is what we are doing. We are removing the skin imperfections, though they are little. And yeah, you can see here we are right now. So after that, let me show you the before, after, before, after. So after this, we are going now to start on our color grading. And before we can do our color grading, let us first dodge and burn this portrait. So we are going to be using our curves to do the dodging and burning. So I'll just come here, I select on my curves, and when I click on my curves, we are going to start by dodging. So when you're dodging, we dodge the highlights and burn the shadow. So I'll push this up, then click Ctrl I to invert that. Then this layer is going to be our dodge layer. Dodge. Then I'll come back on our adjustment. Then I'll look for my curves, and I'm now going to darken. So this is going to be our burn layer. So I'll Ctrl I to invert that. Then I'll name this layer burn. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to select these layers and group them. Ctrl G to put them in a group. And I'm going to select on my burn layer, and I'm going to create a black and white photo filter. Sorry. I'm going to create a black and white. I'll come back and select black and white. So this helps us, it acts like a guiding tool when we are doing our dodging and burning. So when it shows us where we should really dodge and where we should really burn, so it defines everything for us. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to select on my dodge, then I'll come here and select on my brush. So I make sure when I'm dodging, my opacity is at 100 and my flow is at 14. So I'm going to dodge everywhere we have a highlight. So I'm going to start from down. So I'm going to dodge there. I'm going to do it like in an extreme way because I want you guys to see the power of dodging and burning our portraits. So we have a highlight here. So a little highlight here. So I've started it from down. So I'm going to come right here. I dodge there. We have a highlight. We dodge there. On her collarbone, yeah, I dodge. Then around her neck area, we are going to dodge there too because, yeah. Let me show you guys the before and the after. I'll first turn off my black and white filter. So this is the before, after. So far before, after. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to come to her face. We haven't worked on her face yet. So here I'm going to zoom in a little bit. So here we had some little parts we hadn't worked on. We have a highlight here, we shall dodge that. So we are going to dodge her chin area. Then on her nose bridge, you can see we dodge the nose bridge. Then we have a highlight below here on top of her eyelid, we dodge there. Dodge, we have a little highlight here, we dodge there too. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to dodge her cheek area because we have a highlight here. So I'm going to dodge there too. Then we have a highlight here, I'm going to dodge there. So I'm going to show you guys the before and after for our dodging. So I'm going to turn off the black and white. So before, after, before, after. So right now I'm going to start our burning. So I'll select my black and white still, and when I'm burning I prefer my flow to be at around 8%. So I'm going to look for shadows. So when you're burning, you burn the shadows, and when you're dodging, you dodge the highlights. So I'm going to burn, yeah, burn there. We burn there. We come to her shoulder, we burn. So when it gets to the collarbone, it shall burn here too. We burn. So we have a shadow here on her neck area, we burn. So guys, if you're learning something, remember to drop a comment and don't forget to subscribe. You can drop a comment or drop a like if you're learning something from this video. So we have a shadow right here. What we are doing right now, we are dodging and burning our photo. So we have a shadow here, we shall do that too. So let me show you guys how far we have come with the dodging and burning. So this is the before, after, before, after. You can see a difference it has made to our portrait. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to start color grading this photo. We can delete this black and white. So I'm going to close this. So I'm going to start color grading this specific image, and I'm going to be using our selective color and gradient maps. So I'm going to come to my selective color layer. So I prefer adding a little yellows to my reds. Then I'll prefer adding some cyan. Then since I have some magenta, I'll prefer pulling it down to that. I'll come to my yellows and I'll increase on the yellows because I want that warm look. Then I'll come to my green, sorry. So I'm going to play around with my greens because I have a particular look I'm going for. I want them to look kinda bluish. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep on playing with these sliders because yeah, I prefer that bluish look. So I'm going to add in a little yellows to my greens. So here we are right now. So right now I'm going to come to my, you can see a before, after, before, after. So right now I'm going to come to my gradient maps, and we add in that beautiful golden feel, that warm feel to our skin tone. So I'll come to my gradient maps. So if you don't have all this, you just come right here and you select photographic toning, then you append, click on append. So when you append, you get all these colors. So I prefer using this Sepia Arctic first. I click OK, I'll close that. So I'll come to my blending options and select soft light. So I'm going to reduce on the opacity. You can see this is the before, after, before, after. So I'm going to come back to my gradient maps. Then this time I'm going to go for gold 1 because I prefer that golden touch to my portraits. I'll close this. Then I'll come to my blending options and still use my soft light. So I'm going to reduce on the opacity. Yeah, I'll use 12 will do for me. Then I'll come back to my gradient maps, and this time I'm going to use gold 2. So when I use gold 2, it will also have its effect, this photo. So I'm going to reduce the opacity. Yeah, you can see I'm reducing its opacity. So right now I'm going to add in a little fill to our yellows. So I'm going to come back to my selective color and come to my yellows. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add in some little yellows because I want to have those rich skin tones added to this photo. So you can see here we are right now. So for our color grading, I think that is done so far. So I'm going to put all our color grading layers into a group by selecting them and clicking Ctrl G on our keyboard. So I want to show you guys the before color grading and the after. Before, after, you can see a difference it has made to this photo. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to brighten the eyes or whiten the eyes of our model. So I'm going to create a layer on top of all these by clicking Shift Alt Ctrl E on the keyboard. Yeah, Shift Alt Ctrl E to create a layer on top of all the work we have done. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate the layer by pressing Ctrl J. Then I'm going to come back to my filter and come to my camera raw filter. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to whiten her eyes and teeth, but majorly her eyes because the teeth are really perfect. So I'm going to do the eye whitening for this model. So you can see I'm going to use our adjustment brush. So I'm going to click on the adjustment brush tool. I make sure my temperature is around -31 and my tint is all the way up to 45. My highlights are +6, then the shadows are left at 0, the whites are +5, and you leave all the others at 0. So we come to my saturation, it is all the way to -75 because we have to remove color from the white area. So I'm going to start brushing over the eye area so you can see the difference it is making right now. So what we are doing right now, we are whitening the eyes of our model. So for this catch light, you can still increase it, and if you zoom in and you see like the intensity is not, if you zoom out, sorry, and you see the intensity is not all that effective, you can either warm a little bit. Yeah, so I'm going to come back to my basic and I'm going to try to remove some little bit of shadows. So I'll use, yeah, this will do for me, positive 14. So I think we are done with color grading this photo. So I'm going to group everything and I'm going to show you guys how far we have come. Ctrl G. So this is before, when the photo was fresh from our camera roll, after doing some little adjustments to it, and this is the after. So we did the dodging and burning, we color graded this photo, we did frequency separation using a mixture brush, and we whitened the eyes. So if you have learned something from this photo, kindly hit the subscribe button and remember to drop the comment down below in the comment section, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit that notifications bell so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video, so that you don't miss out on learning something new. I'm Ronix from Ronix Photography, and thank you for watching. Till next time.